So I just finished work. It's a Friday. I have about 30 minutes to kill before I need to get my kid from daycare. And I go onto NewPipe and I'm scrolling through the trending list here. And right there in the middle, I see a PewDiePie video called I'm Done with Google. Of course, I had to click on it. For those who don't know PewDiePie, he has 110 million subscribers on YouTube. 110 million. Crazy. In this video, he basically goes through a general de-Googling process on what steps you can take in order to remove Google from your life. So what I did was I watched the video and I took a few notes here. It's not all of the points that he discussed, but I did want to talk about 6 main points. So the first one he talked about was some of the easy stuff, changing your default search engine to DuckDuckGo. Typically, if you have a browser, it's automatically set up usually for Google search. So if you install a browser, you start searching in the search bar, hit enter, usually Google search will come up. And of course, who knows what Google is doing with all of those searches. So the first thing that he says to do, which I 100% agree, would be changing your search engine to DuckDuckGo. It's super easy to do. If you have GrapheneOS, if you use Vanadium, so I'm going to click on Vanadium. Let's go to settings and search engine. The search engine is automatically set for DuckDuckGo. So that's a huge win there. So if you're on GrapheneOS, you don't need to do anything. The second point he talks about was utilizing a privacy respecting browser. So if you have a Windows computer, most likely the default browser will be Microsoft Edge. If you're on Mac, it's going to be Safari, which is, actually pretty good, but most people utilize Google Chrome, which is probably not the best browser you want to use. So he goes into talking about using different types of browsers. So on this list here, for desktop, what I personally use is Firefox. Anything that I need to log into, check my email, log into any personal accounts, I use Firefox. And then for any other general searching that's not tied to my personal identity, just, searching for fun, looking up stuff, I like to use Movad browser. So that's my setup for desktop, and I'm using PopOS as my daily driver. If you're on mobile and you're using GrapheneOS, I would just highly recommend sticking, again, with Vanadium. I love Vanadium. It's a Chromium-based browser, and I have not run into any issues with Vanadium. So just stick to Vanadium. The next one would be switching your email service. So instead of using Gmail, which most of everyone uses, what I would recommend would be Proton Mail. Proton is super easy. It comes with a free plan, but I've chosen to upgrade to the unlimited plan because I use Proton Mail, Proton Pass, Proton Drive. So having that unlimited plan gives me a lot of storage, but also gives me other features that I won't talk about in this video, but in general, I personally love Proton Mail. The fourth bullet point I want to talk about, and this one I was very surprised about, which I was happy to hear, that he has installed GrapheneOS. Specifically about GrapheneOS, he talked about just in general, the control that you have with your apps. For example, you have storage and contact scopes. Let's see if I can demonstrate that here with an app. Let's go to Music Player. So this is a Falsify app. If I go to App Info, here I have the option to select storage scopes. And here I'm able to specifically select the folders that I want the app to have access to. Typically with your stock OSs like Google Pixel or iOS, when you provide the app access to files, it gives a global access. However, with GrapheneOS and storage scopes, you don't need to give global access for all of your files to an app. You can go in here and specifically choose a folder, you can choose a file or a specific image that the app has access to. So that's one control that he discussed. The other one that he discussed was network access. So let's take a look at an example. Let's say our calendar, if we long press on the calendar, hit app info, and let's go to permissions, you can see that you have the ability to select what specific permissions you want to allow or disallow. So naturally for the calendar app, I don't see a network permission in the allowed or not allowed. That means that the app's code doesn't even ask for network permission. But if it did ask for network permission, you could say, no, it's a calendar app. I don't sync anything online. I don't need to give you network permission. You don't need to get out to the internet. So let's pretend that this notifications was that network permission. You can just click on notifications and you could turn it off. That's probably not a good one. I think sensors is better. Yeah, here. So sensors, you have the ability to allow the app to have access to your sensors information, like the gyroscope, accelerometer. So I turn it off. I hit don't allow. And now I'm assured that this particular app won't have access to any of that information. You can see that I also did not give it access to my contacts. And even though the calendar app doesn't have network access, I just usually strip out all the permissions that I feel the app doesn't need. And the other thing that he talked about with the phone was profiles. So if you swipe down and you click on this button down at the bottom, you can see that I have 3 profiles. So currently I'm in the owner profile. The pro profile is a profile that has Google services on it. So I've installed Google Play services, the Google Play Store, and that's where I download all of my proprietary apps. I'm in there maybe a couple times a week because I have my banking apps in there. So I go in, I just check it, and then I basically end the session and I'm in my owner profile for really most of the time. And then the third profile here is just videos. So if I want to do like an app demonstration, I go into that. That way, that profile doesn't have any information that I don't need to blur out for videos. But profiles are great because you get to compartmentalize different areas of your life. So let's say your work requires you to have certain apps. You could create a separate work profile. So you would go in there for work, utilize the apps that you need, and then when you're done with work, you can end the session and then go back to your regular, normal, personal profile. There are a lot of ways to think about profiles and how to set things up. The 5th point I want to discuss that PewDiePie talked about was password manager. So for me, I utilize KeePass DX. So KeePass DX is good if you don't want to store your passwords on the internet and you just want to keep the file offline and you're responsible to back up that file yourself on a USB drive or any other storage that you have at home. But if you want to have something that syncs online, that you can sync all of your devices, you can use Proton Pass. Proton Pass is a great option. The 6th point I want to discuss would be AI, and he goes into some other details about setting up your own machine. One thing I wanted to discuss was Duck AI, which I just found out about. So what I do not recommend would be downloading ChatGPT or any other AI model on your phone. Those apps require you to log in to get extra functionality. Who knows what they're doing with those prompts that you're putting in. If you need to use an AI tool, what I would recommend you do is just go to duck.ai. And what that'll do is that'll take you to DuckDuckGo's AI tool. So just hit give it a try. I'm going to hit agree. And then before putting in your prompt at the bottom, you can choose up here at the top whether you want to use GPT-4, Llama 4, Claude 3.5, O4, or the Mistral models. GPT-4 is created by OpenAI, as you can see on the bottom. Llama 4 is created by Meta. From what I've read, it seems like Mistral has the best privacy practices, but utilizing the AI modeling through duck.ai gives you that extra privacy. So if you wanted to use GPT-4, you can use that. And let's just do a random search. Let's say, can you create a meal plan for me? I prefer chicken and beef, but don't like eggs. I don't know what I'm doing. I hardly use this, but we'll just see what that does. So here you can see that it's creating meal plan for the week with chicken and beef, avoiding anything with eggs. And this does not require a separate app, which is good. This is all done in the browser through Vanadium. Other topics that PewDiePie discussed, self-hosting again. He talked about cloud storage, talked about Nextcloud, briefly talked about maps, talked about Raspberry Pi. So if you're interested in any of those items, feel free to watch his video. I'm going to include that in the pinned comment and description. But yeah, overall, I was very surprised to see that video from PewDiePie, again, a YouTuber that gets income from Google, saying to DEGOOGLE. He has 110 million subscribers. I think that's pretty cool that he put out that video to the masses, and more people hopefully will, at least take some of those tips that he shared. Okay, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.